of simultaneous one and difference is distinctive difference, more or less. And so they question, they challenge it. And then you have the Casco Swamis, who question it too, very much so, because there's not a seminal line. It's a line based upon siksha rather than anything else. It's not even based on diksha. So, Jatagai Sais and other groups also questioned it and challenged it, and Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj himself was not initiated according to them, because he never received diksha mantras from his guru. He just a heart acceptance. So he had to deal with these things and other, of course, what to speak of the theologians and the scholastic aspect of society, who obviously don't accept it anyway, practically speaking. So he had to deal with that. So this is a song he compiled, and with the siksha line. And he had to very strongly, this is one of the main things, it's not talked about much, but this is one of the main challenges he had to deal with in dealings with other groups, is the authenticity, or on what authority is he establishing this disciplic succession. And as Bhaktivinoda Thakur took a diksha initiation from Bipin Bihari Swami, whatever his name was, and therefore that would be the line he should have followed, but he didn't. And he went to a Babaji, and then he took sannyas without a sannyas guru, and he accepted without any initiation the Brahmin thread, with no official, guru. Because Brahmin initiation is Casco Swami. That's Brahmin initiation. It's nothing to do with first initiation. Doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in Lord Chaitanya's time either. It's another innovation. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was not wearing a Brahmin thread, so where did he get this from? And neither was Gauti Das Babaji. So he's a Babaji. I'm not interested in all this stuff usually. So where did this come from? So he had to deal with all these things, and you can understand from them, those who have material perspective and material perception, and he had to deal with this. The British were, of course, one of their main arguments and their main supports in India was the perverted caste system. It was very perverted, and the Brahmins, generally speaking, had established themselves as the more or less undisputed elite in society. And if you weren't born of a Brahmin family, you were not a Brahmin. You could perform pious activities in the hope that next lifetime you could be born as a Brahmin. But you couldn't become one. This was not allowed. It was unbona fide. So we had to deal with that as another big controversial topic, and confliction, a lot of rivalry there with him giving Brahmin initiation to persons of all orders of life, and even sannyas to those of lower orders. So much opposition was there. There's not so much now. It's still there, but on a much lower level. It was very prominent because these other groups were very prominent, and Gaudiya Vaishnavism was pretty, degraded in its, from the public's perspective. It was very degraded. It wasn't very respected in society. So he had to, Bhaktivinoda Thakur started a lot there to establish the genuine teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And many of these groups did not accept Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for what he is. They didn't accept him. Of course, the non-Vaishnav groups didn't anyway, and even amongst the Vaishnavas, many did not accept him as a supreme person, or, as we know from Chaitanya Charitamrita, combined form in the mood of Radharani, and so they didn't accept all this. They may or may not. Many of them considered, along with the British Indologists, etc., that he'd ruined Hindu culture, basically speaking. By giving Brahmin initiation, not Brahmin, but didn't give initiation to anyone really. He initiated everybody, but not by formality. But by accepting all kinds of low caste people, even Muslims, into his fold, and so on and so forth, and giving up his family. I mean, this is really against the caste Goswami line, to give up one's family like he did. Sannyas, that's like a slap in the face for a caste Goswami. They call themselves Goswamis, but they're all Grihastas. And anyone in the Radha Raman temple, one of their progeny took sannyas, he wasn't allowed in. He was like outcast. It's not part. I mean, they accept other sannyasis very humbly, but amongst their own fold, it's not. Maybe they've accepted them now because they become much more, I would say. I don't know when, but certainly they become much more open and favourable. Even their Goswamis, Vishwambara and others, have travelled around ISKCON preaching, not preaching anything different, but talking about whatever, the teachings of Gopal Bhatta Goswami and so on. Anyway, this is their line. You've got to be born in their line. So all this was a real challenge, and Lord Chaitanya giving up his family at a young age. What a bad example that was. Gave up his home, gave up his family, so many things. At a very young age. It wasn't like he was 60 years old. He was 24. Young wife, no children. Completely against most of the paradigms or the standards of Hindu culture, what to speak of the Goswami, class Goswamis, Jata Gosais and other groups. Very much, And then he was a madman. He was like a madman. So, he wasn't considered by many as being, it's just like Krishna wasn't accepted by many as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We don't expect many people to accept, because in this material world, basically speaking, inevitably, especially in Kali Yuga, the leaders of society will inevitably be demons. And that's why we're in this material world. Initially, it may not be classified exactly like a demon, but anyone who sees anything or has any separate intentions other than to please Krishna in every single way has some degree of demoniac mentality, because they're seeing themselves as the enjoyer, as Ravana or Hiranyakashipu or Shishupal, any of the other demons we hear about, big demons. But even though not big demons, anyone who sees themselves as an enjoyer or sees anything that exists which is they consider is not to be used for Krishna's service is possessed of demonic mentality. So the material world is basically full of such conditioned souls. Only a rare few. Come on in. There's enough space for another 100 or 200 devotees. Hare Krishna. Welcome, Diana. Great to see you. Hari Bol. Is Riksharaj here?
He has some duties, so he has to do something with accommodation.
Okay, he's busy. Welcome.
He's really sorry.
And good to see you. We were talking this afternoon. Mahananda's not here, but we were discussing whether you were here or not. Good. So, like that, he had, and these are just some of the sideline oppositions, you could say. Pretty heavy ones. What to speak of Ramos, the Mayavadis, the Sahajyas, the Dowels and the Bowls and the Garanganagaris, and unlimited different groups. Family members of various Hindu groups who attacked him like anything, scholars. He was unrelenting. He was completely uncompromising with his own disciples. If his own disciples said, "My mother's passed away, I've got to go and do the Shraddha," he was like, what is it? Nonsense. There's nothing to do with Shuddha Bhakti. This is a completely mundane, totally mundane fasting and all this stuff. He would sometimes turn a blind eye to it, but it's completely mundane. He certainly didn't want to cultivate that mentality. Therefore, he introduced a system, a Vaishnava system of dealing with, Shraddha and what have you, which wasn't this one of, you can't cook and you can't go to the temple, all this nonsense, etc., etc. He was very much against all this. Even Jesus Christ, if you read the Bible, you'll see he was totally against it too. One of his potential followers, Jesus said, "Follow me now," and of course it's translated, "Take up thy cross and follow me." He said, "But my father has just died. I have to go and deal with his last rites." Instead, let the dead bury the dead. But if you want life, you come with me now. Let the dead bury the dead. Pretty heavy statement, huh? You tell that to a Christian now, they won't. I don't think they'll go along with that. He was really heavy in one sense, at least with his followers. Sannyas, according to the circumstance. So anyway, he had to deal with all these things, and this is one of them, establishing the authenticity of this Siksha line, which is the real purpose. What is the purpose of disciplic succession? What is the point of it? What is its purpose? That's the question. It's not just the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj also established the letter. He did also establish an authenticity to this in many ways. But the real letter, the real spirit of the law, is that which, the whole purpose is that which helps us to awaken our relationship with Krishna. Otherwise, what's the use of being a so-called member of a disciplic succession? Not at all. And he said many times people would come, several times they would come to him saying, "I was associate of your father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur." Some would say I was basically like disciples, so putting himself in a superior position, basically. He would usually say, "You never saw my father once. He's not my father. You never saw Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda Thakur once in your life." But did you know that? You were sat there when I was talking with him. You never saw him. You don't know anything about him. He wouldn't butter them up. "Oh, how wonderful. Oh, I bow down to you. You were associated with my, basic like Guru. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Are you okay? You're welcome, but you have to make space on the chair. Hare Krishna, no problem. We can accommodate you, no problem." Many things he had to face, and as we know, even amongst one's own disciples, one has to face challenges. He had no end of challenges from his own disciples. Various reasons, conditioned reasons. They came from this family or that family, or they had, anyway, different of their own ideas. He didn't tolerate anything separate from pure devotional service, basically. Okay, you have the drum. Can we substitute it with something else? Do we have anything else here? Those big water, if you have one of those big water bottles, they're very good. Those 20-litre ones. We used to use them. When we were in Indonesia, we had no mridungas. We used to just that's not big enough and it's got water in it. You can't use it if it's got water in it. But it's not big enough. Don't even waste your time. No, it's got to have a big flat end, and like this at one end, and a pipe at the top, a big flat end. They're quite good. No, they've got to be, well, you can it's like a tom-tom. But it's got to be, I don't know, it's got something in it probably.
I brought some.
Oh, wow. Wonderful. Yeah, but they are good if you do have one of those things. We used to use them in Indonesia. They had no mridungas for a long time. They're quite good. Krishna ite Jatamukha Hare Krishna Sevanka Brahma ite Naradera Mati Krishna ite Chaturmukha Hoi Krishna Sevan Mukha Brahma ite Naradera Mati Narada Hoite Vyasa Madhva Kohe Vyasa Dasa Purna Prajna Padmanabha Rati Narada ite Vyasa Madhva Kohe Vyasa Dasa Nihori Madhava Bangshe Akshobhya Paramahanse Shisha Bali Angikara Kore Hari Hamse Shisha Bali Angikara Kore Akshobhya Shisha Jaya Tirthanami Purichaya Taradasye Yana Sindhu Tore Akshobhyera Shisha Jaya Davite Duyanidhi Taradasa Vidyanidhi Rajendra Oilota Hate Tahaite Dayanidhi Taradasa Vidyanidhi Rajendra Oilota Oh, look who's here. Come on in. Now you're going to have to vacate the seats, some of you boys, and get on other seats. Welcome all the way from down under. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. Sorry, boys. You can sit on those chairs over there, maybe. Oh, yeah, they can move. They're young guys with edge. No, yes. The chair's dirty. I'm sorry, it's dirty. But you'll purify, if you get on it, you'll purify the chair. Come on, take your pews. You have to, otherwise there won't be any room for anyone else. Take a pew. Sit on the chairs, the three of you. And those who've got a bad leg, there's a chair, you can sit on the chair at the back. Sit down on the chair. What's this? All the way from Wellington? Oh, Hare Krishna. Are you living in Wellington?
I am.
Good. And where's your boy? Where's your boy?
No, I came alone with my sister.
Where's the boy?
He's going to come and see you soon.
No, your big boy, the big boy.
Yeah.
Where's he?
Oh, he didn't come.
He didn't come?
No.
What's wrong with him?
He's playing cricket.
He's watching the cricket, is he? Fanatic. Sports fanatic.
Sorry, Mother.
No problem, welcome. You just came at the right time. We're in the middle of singing a song which has now been broken in half. But not to worry. Everyone's leaving now. Oh, another chair's coming. Great. More chairs are coming. Fantastic. There's a chair there, better for your leg if you need it. Where is Mahananda?
I have to from my
If you got it on the phone, get those who are technological, get it on your phones, please. Who prepared the lunch today? Okay, so maybe she's honoring Prasadam. Fantastic. Okay, we'll start with Shri again, huh? We were halfway through, were we? Tahara. We sung the second line or not? No. Tahara Kinkora Jaya Dharma Name Parichaya Param Para Jano Balo Mate. Text 3. Tahara Kinkora Jaya Text 4. Jaya Dharma Dasya Kyati Shri Purushottama Jati Tahate Ramanya Tirtha Suri Jaya Dharma Asya Kyati Shri Purushottama Tirtha Suri Vyasa Tirtha Taradasa Lakshmi Pati Vyasa Dasa Dahate Madhavendra Puri Vyasa Tirtha Taradasa Lakshmi Pati Vyasa Dasa Madhavendra Puri Madhavendra Puri Para Shishabara Shishwara Nityananda Shri Advaita Vibhu Madhavendra Puri Para Shishabara Shishwara Nityananda Shri Advaita Vibhu Ishvara Puri Caitanya Parilena Shri Chaitanya Jagadguru Gaura Mahaprabhu Ishvara Puri Caitanya Parilena Shri Chaitanya Jagadguru Gaura Mahaprabhu Shri Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nayanya Rupanuga Janera Jivana Mahaprabhu Shri Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nayanya Rupanuga Janera Jivana Vishvambara Priyankara Shisharupa Damodara Shri Goswami Rupa Sanatana Don't press the button too early, otherwise you'll lose. Everyone will sing at a different speed. At least I have to sing the first line. That's good. Rupa Priya Mahajana Jiva Raghunatha Vana Tadapiya Kavi Krishna Dasa Rupa Priya Mahajana Jiva Raghunatha Vana Tadapiya Kavi Krishna Dasa Krishna Dasa Priya Para Narottama Seva Para Jara Pada Vishwanatha Asha Krishna Dasa Priya Para Narottama Seva Paro Yara Para Vishwanatha Dasa Vishwanatha Bhakta Sata Baladeva Jagannatha Tadapriya Shri Bhakti Vinoda Vishwanatha Bhakta Sata Baladeva Jagannatha Tadapriya Shri Bhakti Vinoda Maha Bhagavata Bharo Shri Gora Kishora Bharo Hari Bhajane Tejara Moda He's got one of those bottles. Bara Hari Bhajane Tejara Ihara Paramahansa Gorangera Nija Bangsha Tadera Charane Mama Yati Paramahansa Gorangera Nija Bangsha Tadera Charane Mama Yati. Did you find it? This is an extra verse. You didn't find it? It's if you got the purport there, you'll find it in the purport. You don't know if you got the purport. It comes at the end, usually after some words. Amiseva Udasina Namete Tvidanditina Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Amiseva Udasina Namete Tvidanditina Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. What's up? What's this? No, we won't sing the first line. We're going to sing the ones now for Madhavendra Puri. Text 4 and 5. Jaya Dharma Dasya Kyati Shri Purushottama Jati Tahate Brahmanya Tirtha Suri Jaya Dharma Asya Kyati Shri Purushottama Jati Tahate Brahmanya Tirtha Suri Kavyasa Tirtha Taradasa Lakshmi Pati Yasa Dasa Tahate Madhavendra Puri Vyasatirtha Karadasa Lakshmipati Vyasa Dasa Tahati Madhavendra Madhavendra Puri Bara Keshavara Shri Ishvara Nityananda Shri Advaita Vibhu Madhavendra Puri Bara Keshavara Shri Ishvara Nityananda Shri Advaita Vibhu Ishvara Puri Ke Danya Kalilena Shri Chaitanya Jagat Guru Gora Mahaprabhu Ishvara Puri Ke Danya Kalilena Shri Chaitanya Jagat Gora Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Rama Ramo, Hare Hare. Whoa! Hey Krishna, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Ramo, Rama Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ramo, Rama Ramo, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, oh Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare. Go Premanande, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Madhavendra Puri Goswami ki jai, Shri Krishna Balaram ki jai, Shri Radha Shamasundar ki jai, Shri Gornitai ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki, Shri Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Go Shri Madhavendra Puri Tirubhav Mahmotsav ki jai, Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bo, Hari Nam Sankirtan ki jai, Brihat Madanga ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and all glories to Shri. Hare Krishna. But try to be a little better prepared tomorrow. So, okay, so we'll cover a few more things today. If Maharaj mentioned it, Brihat Bhagavat Maharaj mentioned in the class this morning, let me know and I'll just jump over because there's so much. Did he discuss the meeting of Nityananda Prabhu with Madhavendra Puri this morning? No. Did he discuss the meeting of Madhavendra Puri with the Shanadiya Brahmin in Mathura? No. Okay. So that's the one I'll focus on. If we have time, we will focus on the meeting with Nityananda Prabhu. The story of Madhavendra Puri, you can read. It's an amazing story, but unless you want to stay here for probably longer than you want to stay here, we can lock the door. It might not be very nice. No, we won't do that. Jai Shri Madhavendra Puri Krishna Prema Pura Bhakti Kalpa Tarura Tenho Pratama Ankura. So there's some invocatory verses glorifying Madhavendra Puri. Perhaps he spoke those this morning. They're common. All glories to Shri Madhavendra Puri, the storehouse of all devotional service unto Krishna. He is the desired tree of devotional service, and it is in him that the seed of devotional service first fructified. It's always there, but it wasn't visible. In our parampara, prior to Madhavendra Puri, it was not manifested. For reasons discussed this morning, I would assume. It is confirmed by Kavi Karnapur in his Gorganadesh Deepika, of course, the service of Madhavendra Puri is very all-encompassing, especially in this world, so to speak. He's a Kalpa Vriksha tree. All the fruits of love of Godhead, you could say, can be unfolded. But specifically we see the unique feature of Madhavendra Puri is the awakening of Madhurya Ras in his presence. So we won't read that. And he wasn't so much as you'll hear. Did he talk about Madhavendra Puri's rejection of rituals and various things like that? Okay, so you'll hear that in a minute. He wasn't into rituals very much, by the way. And then the verse which you heard this morning, this Aidina Dinadra Dayadra Natahe, the most important verse, it's known as the Rasa Kavya. He talked on that this morning, I think. Yeah? Which means the best verse. The Rasa Kavya, it means the best verse in the entire treasury of Rasa poetry. You should carry on with some invocatory verses. Pitiviti ropana kari gela preman kur. Se preman kurera vriksha chaitanya takura. Madhavendra Puri sowed the seed of ecstatic love for Krishna within this material world and then departed. Particularly that verse was the clear manifestation of that seed. That seed later became a great tree in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And how that seed and the tree thereof spread. And now it's spreading all over the world. The branches of that great tree are traveling all over the world through various media, but most primarily through the ISKCON movement. Others are also spreading in different ways, in different places, but the most, you could say, complete, or let's say the biggest spreading of the fruits of that tree are through the movement established by our Srila Prabhupada. Another invocatory verse. Yasmai datum chorayan shirabandang gopinata shira chora biddobut Shri Gopala padura sidvasashan yat premhatang madhavendram natosmi. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Madhavendra Puri, who was given a pot of sweet rice stolen by Sri Gopinath, celebrated thereafter as Shira Chora. Being pleased by Madhavendra Puri's love, Sri Gopal, the deity at Govardhan, appeared to the public vision. That verse more or less captures the story. You expand on that verse, which we're not going to do, but that just mentions some of the key features, the pure love of Madhavendra Puri and how Gopal revealed himself to him, how Madhavendra established the worship of Gopal, the Gopal deity, Gopalji, and how he went to collect sandalwood and camphor for the worship of Gopal. Of course, then the whole story of Shri Chora Gopinath in Vimuna, and then on his return to that holy place, he stayed there. He never went back to Vrindavan. He stayed there and he worshipped the deity of Gopinath, and then sometime shortly after he departed from the world. Another invocation, we prayer. Shraddha yukta hana iha shuneye jana Shri Krishna charane se paya premadana. One who hears this narration with faith and devotion attains the treasure of love of Godhead at the lotus feet of Shri Krishna. So recommend you all to read that pastime in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 4 of the Madhya Lila. Madhavendra Puri. It's quite a long chapter, but it's not that long. Another invocatory prayer. Madhavendra Puri Prema Maya Kalevara Prema Maya Yata Sabha Sanghe Anuchara. The body of Sri Madhavendra Puri is imbued with ecstatic love of God, and his followers partake of those same sentiments. Another one. Krishna Rasa Vinovara Naika Ahar Madhavendra Puri Dehe Krishna Ravihar. He did not relish anything other than loving sentiments for Lord Krishna, who enjoyed his pastimes in the body of Madhavendra Puri. That's an interesting way of describing the devotion of a pure devotee. The Lord enjoys in the body of Madhavendra, his pastimes in the body of Madhavendra Puri. The devotee is simply, let's say, a repository for the pleasure of the Lord. You make your heart enjoyable. And I guess you can have a small example in material life, when one's heart, the other person, basically you have a lover, and your heart is so much in love with the other person. The person you love also, you can feel they kind of enjoy the love which is in your heart to a certain extent. Nothing compared to this. Absolutely nothing. This is absolute and eternal and ever increasing in every respect. So what we're going to look at now, or hear about now, is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One of his, you could say, is, at least from our perspective, cherished desires was to go to Vrindavan. Although he's always in Vrindavan in another sense, maybe uppercut. But he also wanted to go there. And one time he attempted, he didn't reach Vrindavan at that time. But now he's just reached Mathura. And this time he has his servant with Balabhadra Bhattacharya serving him. And they've just reached Mathura. So I don't know if we've reached Mathura or where we are. We may still be in Czech Republic or Wellington or somewhere. I don't know where you are. Christchurch or Sydney or somewhere. Haribol. Wonderful prasadam. Thank you so much. It was absolutely ecstatic. Too ecstatic. I'm supposed to perform austerities. I just wanted, oh my goodness. That's a purifying bash. But don't sit there, don't sit like that. You're going to do it again. Your head's going to bobble back and forth and there's going to be bang after bang. I don't know what you can do to protect yourself from that. A hangover there. It's like a hangover, you get a headache, from the hangover you get a headache. This is another form of headache from a hangover. Bang your head on that one. Are we really in Vrindavan or where are we? That's the question mark. Are you here or are you in Germany? Or are you in the Limca store? They don't know Limca, nobody bothers with Limca anymore. Are you in the MVT restaurant or where are you? Are you thinking of your family? Are you thinking of your senses? Are you thinking of your own pleasure? Are you thinking of how stuffy it is in here? It's not so stuffy. I don't feel it's stuffy.
It's better, much better.
Is it better? Okay. That's because more devotees have come in. They brought some fresh air in. There is water if anyone's just arrived. I think there are some cups of water. Mind your head when you go up. Only Priyarani is immune from this ledge there. We were thinking of breaking it this afternoon. We asked, but we thought we'd better not. So Lord Chaitanya has arrived in Mathura. Of course, that's another dimension. But by hearing about it, we become, maybe if we hear attentively, we can become a little eligible to enter into Mathura or Vrindavan also. It's not just a matter of a train journey, then a taxi. I was telling some of the devotees yesterday, when we first came here in the 76, we came here on a Tunga. You know what a Tunga is? Tunga? You know what a Tunga is. Horse carriage. Yeah. There were no taxis. Maybe there's one or two, but we couldn't afford it. We had no money. It took us almost 2 hours to get here from Mathura station, hour and a half, on a horse. All the way through the streets of Mathura. There was no highway. It was very crowded. There was animals and everything you can think of. No trucks much in those days. No trucks, maybe an odd bus now and again. There were a few cars and there were auto rickshaws. I don't think there were any of those. It was all cycle rickshaws were there, but we had a lot of luggage, so we had this cart with all our luggage and all scrambled on top of the luggage and one kind of wooden bench there. And we were just meditating on Akrura. We were reading the pastime of Akrura as much as we could on the way in. Because Prabhupada said that when we enter Vrindavan, we should come in this way of Akrura. This very, he's a little reverential, but he's offering all of his prayers every time he sees a footprint of Krishna. We knew nothing, but we were just trying to, think like that anyway. At least a little bit respectful as we entered in, instead of, arguing with a taxi driver or something, and then, pushing people out the way or pestering you for something or another. You come in very humble. So when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entered the city of Mathura, he took his bath at Vishram Ghat. Have any of you been there? Vishram Ghat? You, Jivananda. Anyone else has been there? Shamananda? Anyone been to Vishram Ghat?
I
You think, but you don't remember. That's a very accurate answer, isn't it? Maybe. Huh? Maybe I think I did, or maybe I didn't. I can't remember. Okay, maybe. Anyway, Vishram Ghat is in Mathura. It's kind of in the sort of central Ghat in Mathura. And it's a place where you start and end if you're doing, normally, if you're doing parikrama of the greater, Vrajabhumi, you start there and end there. Take your bath, start and you end and take your bath there. Famous bathing ghat there. So Lord Chaitanya took his bath at Vishram Ghat. He then visited the birthplace of Krishna and saw the deity named Keshavaji. And some of you have been to the temple in Mathura. Yeah, you've been there? Not yet. If you have the time, well, nice to go. It's still there, I think, the cave or whatever where Krishna was supposedly born in the prison. Whether it is or isn't, there's a lot of contention over that as to where it actually is. Like many things, there's always difference of opinion over it. For various reasons, obvious, some of them obvious. There's also a mosque there. Just a month or two ago, the temple of Ram in Ayodhya was opened. And previously, that was the site of a mosque. The Muslims had this program of, wherever there was a holy place, basically speaking, in North India specifically, they like to knock down the temple and build a mosque there. Completely mundane perspective of Godhead, but that was their idea. And so, one way or another, there's been a reversal in a sense. Although the mosque was actually not being used, it was deserted anyway. But they kicked up a big fuss. But anyway, eventually the temple came up. And in Vrindavan, what they did was, there's a lot of rich Mawaris, they're rich people. They built a big temple of Krishna next to the mosque, but more or less in the same place. They didn't knock the mosque down. That would be a bit too much because it's quite an active mosque, and the population of Mathura is probably 30 or 40% Muslim. So it would have been a bit of a problem if they knocked it down. Vrindavan's not, but Mathura is lots of Muslims in Mathura. Not in Vrindavan.
Recently, the government has approved for archaeological research under the Mosque of Mathura.
Have they?
Yes.
So there might be some. I mean, the present government takes liberties more than other governments do, and well, for obvious reason, we're not going to get into politics, but these things go on. And Prabhupada talks about that, how this and that, how these things happened. I won't get into that. Next verse. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanted, danced, and made loud vibrations, all the people were astonished to see his ecstatic love. One Brahmana fell at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and then began to dance with him in ecstatic love. The two of them danced in ecstatic love, and then they embraced each other. Lord Chaitanya, imagine embracing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Raising their arms, they said, chant, both of them, chant the holy names of Hari and Krishna. All the people then began to chant, Hari, 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 Hari. If ever you say Hari Bol to Bhakti-Vikash Maharaj, you'll say Hari, Hari. And when you say Hari Krishna, you asked me to chant Hari. You didn't say Hari Krishna Bol, you said Hari Bol. Literally it means chant the name of Hari, which is, all the names are names of Hari. All the people then began to chant, and there was a great uproar. The priest at Lord Keshava's service offered Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu a garland. When the people saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's dancing and chanting, they were struck with wonder. They all said, such transcendental love is never an ordinary thing. The people said, simply by seeing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, everyone is maddened with love of Krishna. Indeed, everyone is laughing, crying, dancing, chanting, then taking the holy name of Krishna. It's just like in Châtelet Léal. When you do Harinam in Châtelet Léal, this is a repetition. Huh? All the people, a lot of them are drunk, so they are laughing and crying. Some of them are doing various ecstatic things. But not because like this. This is absolute. Mind your head, Eleanor. If you've got something to put on your head, you've got a higher head than the others. Where you're sitting. We need to put some thing underneath this here. If there was going to sit there, we have to put some blanket or some sponge underneath this marble table, because already Leela Madhuri almost broke her skull open once. We don't want that to happen. Please don't do that. But be careful when you get up. And then the people carried on. Certainly, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in all respects, is the incarnation of Lord Krishna. They were convinced just by seeing the ecstatic symptoms and feeling in their heart, they were convinced. Now he has come to Mathura to deliver everyone. After this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took the Brahmana aside. Sitting in a solitary place, the Lord began to question him. Who knows why he questioned him?
He was the disciple of...
No, don't jump the gun. Why did he that isn't why he questioned him at all. Why did he question him? That's not the answer at all. Why did he question him? Because he wanted to find out, you could say, how is it that he's got these ecstatic symptoms? What is the cause of this? What has caused it? As you know, the awakening of ecstasy, the advanced stage of devotional service. One must get the association. Bhakti comes from bhakti. It doesn't come by churning it up, by studying it, or by working like an ass to get it. It comes by coming in contact with pure devotional service. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "You are an elderly Brahmana. You are sincere, and you are advanced in spiritual life. Where from have you gotten this transcendental opulence of ecstatic love for Krishna? Where have you got it from?" The Brahmana replied, and straight to the point, His Holiness, Srila Madhavendra Puri, came to the city of Mathura while he was on tour. Whilst at Mathura, Sripad Madhavendra Puri visited my house and accepted me as a disciple. He even took lunch at my home. After installing the deity of Gopal, Sri Madhavendra Puri rendered service to the deity. That very deity is still being worshipped at Govardhan Hill. As soon as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard about Madhavendra Puri's relationship with the Brahmin, what did Lord Chaitanya do? You know the story. Somebody else. What did Lord Chaitanya do when he heard that the Brahmin had a relationship with Madhavendra Puri? What did he do? Yeah, he paid his obeisances. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately offered obeisances at his feet. Becoming fearful, the Brahmin also immediately fell at the Lord's feet. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "No, you are on the platform of my spiritual master. I am your disciple." So what a lesson to learn, isn't it? The Supreme Personality of Godhead is saying, "I am your disciple." Why is he saying that? Leela Manjari? Oh, I thought you had your hand up. Ekanath?
Because he's taking the position of the servant.
Oh, that's a nice answer, but it's not the exact answer.
Example?
Nice example, but what's the specific reason? Backside. You got all the answers. Since you shaved your head, you got all the answers. Now you're gonna become the temple pandit. Now you're gonna be the New Mayapur's court pandit there. Okay, backside.
Because the Brahmin was good brother of the spiritual master.
Correct. Madhavendra Puri was the grand spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya's spiritual master was Ishwara Puri, by, line of succession. So the Brahmin, therefore, was a god brother of Ishwara Puri, which that is how it goes. I mean, of course, we don't implement it in that same, perhaps, way in the society that we have, but it is actually should be. That's how it should be. The god brother of one's spiritual master is respected like one's own spiritual master. One pays obeisance. One may, of course, have to use common sense in terms of their behavior, and that will come up next. But that's the principle. They are like one's spiritual master. That was also there in family life, what to speak of spiritual life. No, your father's brother was also treated just like, with great respect, like your own father practically. You never disrespect him. But now people don't even respect their father, what to speak of their grandfather, their uncle, or their grandfather, or anybody come to that practically. Next verse. Oh, we finished that, I didn't quite make it. You are on the platform of my spiritual master, and I am your disciple. Since you are my spiritual master, it is not befitting that you offer me obeisances. Upon hearing this, the Brahmin became afraid. He then said, why do you speak like this? You are a sannyasi. Upon seeing your ecstatic love, I can just imagine that you must have some relationship with Madhavendra Puri. This is my understanding. That's the Brahmin speaking. This kind of ecstatic love can be experienced only when one has a relationship with Madhavendra Puri. Without him, even a scent of such transcendental ecstatic love is impossible. We don't need to be found there. Balabhadra Bhattacharya then explained the relationship between Madhavendra Puri and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. After hearing this, the Brahmana became very pleased and began to dance. The Brahmin then took Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his home, and under his own free will began to serve the Lord in various ways. He asked Balabhadra Bhattacharya to cook Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lunch. At that time the Lord, smiling, spoke as follows. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Madhavendra Puri has already taken lunch at your place. Therefore you may cook and give me the food. That is my instruction. Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow, and whatever standard he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. You may have heard that verse before. Yeah. No. That's... Yes. Come on, somebody else. No. Yadya charity pesh. Pramanam kurute lokastadam. Bhagavad Gita. Important verse. Whatever standards or action a great man performs, common men follow, and whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. Next verse. The Brahmana belonged to the Sanodeya Brahmin community, and a sannyasi does not accept food from such a Brahmin. So herein we have a connection really to Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj's mission also. One of his main missions was to fulfill the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And his mission particularly was to make Krishna consciousness available to all, no matter what caste or gender or anything one may be. And don't forget the Madhunga is meant by Lord Balaram. Are you resting on Lord Balaram? We can put him on it. I don't know if there's a cushion for him. I know we don't have much to... Here we go. put the cushion here, or in front there. Yeah, there's plenty of space. There, rest Lord Balaram on the cushion. There we go. If he balances. Will he balance? Maybe. It will help his friends. Maybe not. Don't deny a person a cushion. So, this is one of the primary objectives of Lord Chaitanya, which again is criticized for that. And Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj particularly, as we heard earlier on, was one of the main challenges which he had. So here we see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu criticized for this by smarter Brahmins and caste Goswamis, that he took food as a sannyasi in the house of a low-class Brahmin. Even amongst the various varnas, there are classes. So we'll see. In northwestern India, Vaishyas are divided into various subdivisions. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur goes on to point out that they are divided as Agawala, Kalawara, and Sanwada. Sanwada is in northwest. This is this part of India. Out of them, the Agawalas are said to be first-class Vaishyas, and the Kalawaras and Sanwadas are considered lower due to their occupational degradation. The Kalawaras generally take wine and other intoxicants. Although they are Vaishyas, they are considered to belong to a lower class. The priests who guide the Kalawaras and the Sanwadas are called Sanodiya Brahmanas. Srila Bhaktivinoda states that the word Sanoyada in Bengal indicates Suvarna Vanik. In Bengal, there are priests who guide the Suvarna Vanik community, which is also considered low class. There is a little difference between the Sanwadas and the Savarna Vaniks. Generally, the Savarna Vaniks are bankers dealing in gold and silver. In Western India, the Agawalas also belong to the banking profession. This is the original business of the Savarna Vanik, or Agawal community. Historically, the Agawalas come from up-country named Ayodhya, not so far up-country, but, and the Savarna Vanik community also came from Ayodhya. It therefore appears that the Savarna Vaniks and the Agawals belong to the same community. The Sanodiya Brahmins were the guides of the Kalawaras and the Sanwadas. They are therefore considered to be lower class Brahmins, and a sannyasi is not allowed to take alms or food from them. However, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted lunch cooked by a Sanodiya Brahmin simply because he belonged. Sometimes people they may ask you, what's your gotra? Everybody won't know what to answer. Sometimes you go to temples and the priest will say, what is your gotra? Achyuta gotra. They accept it, Achyuta gotra. Everyone, very caste Brahmins is important. What is your gotra? I know your gotra. What line are you in? But here it says, he belonged to Madhavendra Puri's community. Much higher than any designation of this world. The Madhavendra Puri's community is not of this world. The Vaishnava, way above the Varnas and Ashrams. Genuine. Madhavendra Puri was the spiritual master of Ishwara Puri. Thus, who was the spiritual master of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Thus, a spiritual relationship is established on the spiritual platform without consideration of material inferiority or superiority. It's above it all. Next verse. Although the Brahmin belonged to the Sanodiya community, Srila Madhavendra Puri had seen that he behaved like a Vaishnava. And this is the thrust, you could say, of Madhavendra Puri, his contribution sounds a bit mundane, but his effect on the material world is to establish proper behavior. Naturally, a pure devotee is, by every breath, every thought, every word, every deed, is a manifestation of, perfect etiquette, perfect everything, perfect behavior. He behaved perfectly, and had therefore accepted him as his disciple because he saw that his behavior was exemplary and was that of a Vaishnava. We don't necessarily have a sort of same situation, Prabhupada, especially in preaching. When one preaches when there's a mission like this, then Prabhupada even writes, disciples are accepted from all rungs of society, at all levels, and to a large extent the preaching mission is to give us a chance. We're coming from rather un-Vaishnava backgrounds in most cases. In some cases, I don't know about your family lineage, were they Vaishnavas? Your mother, father?
Maybe nobody asked if we're farming from farming community. And
Farming community, but were they Vaishnavas, not Vaishyas? Vaishya is one thing, Vaishnava is different. Vaishnava may be a farmer or a gold dealer, trader, but a Vaishnava, devotee of Krishna, means were they worshipping Krishna solely? Your parents?
not solely.
Not solely, no. They're usually worshipping, all different types of gods and so on and so forth, usually, which is a common affair of most of the members of the Hindu community. So a pure Vaishnava, you could see he was a pure Vaishnava, behaving like one whose life was dedicated to bring pleasure. A Vaishnava is one who lives for the pleasure of Krishna only, and had therefore accepted him as a disciple. The food he had cooked had also been accepted by Madhavendra Puri. Therefore Chaitanya Mahaprabhu willingly requested food from the Brahmin, and the Brahmin, feeling natural humility, began to speak as follows. It is a great fortune for me to offer you food. You are the Supreme Lord, and being in the transcendental position, you are not restricted in any way. Foolish people will blaspheme you, but I shall not tolerate the words of such mischievous people. Again, this is akin to the mission of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, all of Prabhupada too, of course. He wouldn't tolerate anything which was contrary to Rupa Goswami's teachings. In other words, anything which didn't bring pleasure to Krishna. I mean, obviously, he used to guide people towards that level. But anyone who was preaching against that principle, he wouldn't tolerate it. If anyone was blaspheming the Lord, he would become quite heavy, angry. People think this is not humility, but that is what humility means. What it really means. When Prabhupada was asked in Paris by Hari Vilasa, what did he say? What is humility? What did Prabhupada say?
Tell the truth. To speak the truth.
Yeah, but what is that truth? Anyone can say that. I mean, they've all got different truths, or so-called truths. What does it mean?
The absolute truth.
Yeah, but let's hear what Prabhupada said. That's not wrong in a sense.
He said to Tamal Krishna once that humility means to preach boldly Krishna consciousness.
That's also true, but to Hari Vilas in Paris, Prabhupada said something a little different. To know that everything belongs to Krishna and everything that exists is meant for his pleasure. You live your life like that. You're never afraid of anything. And even for Bhaktisiddhanta junior disciples would challenge big scholars. Even members of ISKCON, they challenge big scholars, learned pandits, scientists. They know that everything, including that scientist's brain, everything belongs to Krishna, it's not his. So there's no fear, fearlessly. Humility is this fearlessness, genuine humility. It's not a shyness. Oh, Prabhu, you are so humble. That's not humility at all. Self-centeredness, which we all have. The real humility is that total taking shelter of Krishna, fearlessly representing him. So he fiercely chastised that Brahmin. He fearlessly. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur remarks that although the Brahmin did not belong to a superior community, he fearlessly chastised so-called caste Brahmins because he was situated on the platform of pure devotional service. In other words, they were attached to their, body, their conditioned situation in the Varna ashram. So he chastised them. Lord Chaitanya's whole process was, we're not the, how's it go? Not the Brahmin, we're not a Kshatriya, we're not a Vaishya, not a Naham Vipro, not a Narapati, Napi Vaishya, not Shudra. Because he was to realize one's humility, to realize one's position as Gopi Bharta Pada Kamalam, Dasa Dasa Anadas. Because he was situated on the platform of pure devotion. There are people who are opposed to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's accepting a Vaishnav belonging to a lower caste. Such people do not consider Mahaprasada transcendental, and therefore they are described as murkha, foolish, and dushta, mischievous. A pure devotee has the power to challenge such high caste people, and his brave statements are not to be considered proud or puffed up. On the contrary, he is to be considered straightforward. Such a person does not like to flatter high-class Brahmins who belong to the non-Vaishnava community. Next verse. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, "The Vedas, Puranas, and great learned sages are not always in agreement with one another. Consequently, there are different religious principles." You see so much variety in the Vedas. Different branches are there, different religions are there. As people see things differently. So in different ways, even the Lord provides these different means and paths for people to take up. Originally they're meant for the elevation of people who are, seeing things imperfectly, who have material attachments, etc., for the imperfect varnashram. All these things are there for the imperfect to become perfect. If you don't follow them, then you remain imperfect. Whatever religions, whatever they are, to elevate people. The same thing in our line. We're not coming in as pure devotees. We're all, whatever we are, conditioned, whatever it is, we may be attached to our knowledge or our birth or our place of birth or our whatever, attached to something, identify with something. So to purify us of those identities. It's funny, isn't it? People say the Varnashram system is all about identification, but actually it's the system to purify us of identification. It's Daivi Varnashram. To come to that point of realization that you may have received by your own karma or whatever it may be, a particular nature, and one should act according to that nature, according to Krishna, the Gita, according to Varnashram. But one understands gradually, because the Varnashram system is all connected to Krishna, it comes from him. He has given it. It's not a man-made system like all the other systems. It's a God-given system, so if you follow the God-given system, it gradually cures us of a godless mentality. Next verse, and this is the verse which is the key verse in this whole section. If you want to make a reference there, Chaitanya Charitamrita, I should have told you in the beginning. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, sorry, you could have followed. Madhya Lila, chapter 17, text 185. Key verse in the whole pastime. In fact, it really is a key verse of Madhavendra Puri's, let's say, acting as an acharya on our plane. An acharya is one who preaches or lives his life by example. And the entire life of Madhavendra Puri was like that. We can't imitate, but we can follow the principle of his exemplary behavior. Interesting, just a few verses earlier, how that Sanadiya Brahmin took shelter. I don't know about official initiation, but Madhavendra Puri accepted him as a disciple. Well, when Madhavendra Puri installed the deity of Gopal on top of Govardhan Hill, there were, maybe there were Vaishnavas, but there were many Brahmins. Mostly all the Brahmins were all caste Brahmins. They're taking birth in a Brahmin family. It was not a question of anyone outside of a Brahmin family being eligible to worship the deity. But even though they were initiated already as Brahmins in the lines of caste Goswamis, he reinitiated them into pure Vaishnavism before allowing them to worship the deity of Gopal. Certain mentality, attitude. It's not just a matter of having a thread and knowing the mantras, but it's the consciousness. So he purified them. So this is the verse, number 185, chapter 17 of the Madhya Lila, Chaitanya Charitamrita. You might be able to find it if you have a mobile phone with reception, or you don't want to, no problem. Dharma stapana hetu sadura vyavahar Puri gosa niraye acharana se dharma sar. A devotee's behavior establishes the true purpose of religious principles. The behavior of Madhavendra Puri Goswami is the essence of such religious principles. On every level, he's a desire tree. So whatever level you're on, you could say you can get that connection, you can get the ultimate fruit, which he's not directly giving, you could say, but is facilitating the appearance of this fruit of love of God. So even ordinary people would respect him, his exemplary behavior. Long story. He was such that he wouldn't eat anything unless somebody brought it. He never asked for anything. I don't know if this would, I don't know, it probably wouldn't be very successful in our present day and age. Neither were we Madhavendra Puri anyway, who if nothing came, he was just as satisfied as if something came. We're not on that level. So we don't imitate, but we follow. What is relevant to us is we only take prasadam, food offered to Krishna. And strictly speaking, we eat when it's the allotted times, this prasadam time in the temple, if you're living in the temple, or when it's offered to the deities. You don't just eat and then think, oh, now I'll offer something to the deity. You just have your samosas and pizzas and gulab jamuns, and then you offer the deity some dried nuts and raisins. Yeah. Leave it there for a few days. Meanwhile, you're eating like a horse. No, you don't. You have to, and that's another reason. Of course, this is another example from Madhavendra Puri when he was at the temple of Shri Gopinath, how he felt a great offender, because the offering was still on the altar. He heard a lot about what they offered to Gopinath. They offer this incredible Raimuna. If you ever go to Raimuna, it's near Balasore, between Calcutta and Puri. There's a temple there, temple of Shri Gopinath. They offer nowhere else in the world can they offer it like this. It has a taste of its own, unique taste. Yeah, if you can follow, it's like people say that about ISKCON prasadam sometimes. They read the cookbook, but they say it's good, but it's not the same as it is when I go to the temple. What is it? Something missing in the formula. You haven't given the proper recipe. The recipe is not complete. Yeah, it's the same recipe. No, there's the devotion. There's a certain mood, isn't there? There's a certain mood there. And the more the mood is devotion, the more you experience the unique flavor. So there, they have a certain rasa with Gopinath, relationship with Gopinath, and Gopinath with the devotees. So this here was heard, it was famous. In fact, for the purpose of worshipping his own deity, Madhavendra Puri was thinking, if I could just find out how they prepare this kheer. And he was thinking, if I could taste something, I might be able to understand it. Then he realized it was still on the altar. It had been offered, but it was still on the altar. He thought, oh, now I'm a great offender. Have you ever had that problem? You're the cook, sometimes? Sometimes, eh? You're thinking of when the offering is not yet made, but when it's finished, then, you're thinking of tasting or whatever it may be. Tasting for the Lord's pleasure is one thing, but tasting for your own satisfaction is another. Or it's on the altar, you're stood there, they have the little curtain there, you're stood there looking at the deities and one eye up, one eye down. There's the plate with all the sweets and savories and delicacies on the plate, Sometimes that happens. And you see the pujaris sometimes, the maha comes out after the offering's over, there's just rice, dal and sabji, nothing else. No samosas, no gulab. Maybe half of a samosa. They got saved for their families and their friends and to whatever else, the late members they're going to see or whatever. Anyway, we should be satisfied with what Krishna provides. Good for humility, but he was very exemplary like this. The real religious principles, of course, in this case, real religious principle in the ultimate religious principle, complete surrender to Krishna, total dependence on Krishna, nobody else. Absolute. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives the following commentary on this passage. It's interesting how Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj comments on almost all the verses here and probably just repeats what Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj says. A sadhu or honest man is called Mahajan or Mahatma. The Mahatma is described thus by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 9:13. What did he say? Krishna says to Arjuna, what is a Mahatma? Yeah. Bhajantyananya manaso gyatva bhutaram. You will learn this before you go to Paris. There are many Mahatmas in Paris, so you've got to know. It's not just self-appointed personality. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj goes on. First of all, he described what the translation. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, or the Mahatmas, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. That's the definition by Krishna of a Mahatma. Bhagavad Gita 9:13. And it's not anything else. You can give the name Mahatma to anyone you like, but that doesn't make them a Mahatma. You can give it, many stories are there, just by giving a person a name, that doesn't mean they are. In the material world, the word Mahatma is understood in different ways by different religionists. Mundaners also come up with the different angles of vision. For the conditioned soul busy in sense gratification, a Mahajan or Mahatma is recognized according to the proportion of sense gratification he offers. It's a pretty far-out materialistic understanding of a Mahatma. To the degree they offer you sense gratification, he's a great soul. Which is most people's line. Sportsmen, musicians, etc., entertainers, isn't it? They're great souls in the eyes of the public. Here in India particularly, your actors, isn't it? In the film industry, they're heralded as great heroes, isn't it? They're deified. There are temples of some of the deceased actors in India, Bollywood actors. They have, especially in South India, they have temples with deities in there. All of those actors, they worship them just like God. Cricket players in India are also deified, isn't it? They literally deify them. They're as good as God. In the West, Elvis is God. Used to be Elvis Presley. All over, his followers, they would go around in shirts. Elvis is God. They deify people like in different ways. People deify the Beatles, at least they did in their heyday. Worship them. The whole life was centered on the Beatles. They deify football players in the West. All over the place, Big famous football players. They're some of the highest paid people on the earth. They get some like £1 million a month wage. 100 million, maybe it's gone up. 100, imagine 100, just an idiot, complete idiot, knows how to kick a lump of leather around and shout his head off, and get angry at people, gets £100 million a month for doing that. Absolute idiot. Buffoon. He knows how to kick a lump of leather around better than anyone else. And, usually very angry, uncontrolled senses. And they get paid 100 million a month. And they're worshipped. Where people wear T-shirts everywhere, they got statues of them. They literally worship them. Material world. Mahajan is recognized according to the proportions that we give. For instance, a businessman may consider a certain banker like a Mahajan. Karmas desiring material enjoyment may consider philosophers like Jaiminian as to be Mahajans. There are many yogis who want to control the senses, and for them Patanjali Rishi is a Mahajan. For the Gyanis, the atheist Kapila, Vashishta, Durvasa, Dattatreya, and other impersonalist philosophers are Mahajans. For the demons, Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, Ravana, Ravana's son, Meghanada, Indrajit, Jarasandha, and others are accepted as Mahajans, and they do. There are temples of Hiranyakashipu, and not Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, in Sri Lanka. Many of the South Indians worship Ravana. They don't worship Ram, they worship Ravana. It's amazing when you look at it like this, how people are so misled. We wonder. Even, I don't want to mention names, but there's a whole religion which worships the Guru as God. Totally misunderstanding. Biggest religion on the planet. There's another fallacy. There's truth and there's partial truth, but partial truth is not absolute. And if you try to establish it's absolute, it's offensive. You have to understand it in the proper perspective. For materialistic anthropologists speculating on the evolution of the body, a person like Darwin is a Mahajan. In China, they put up statues of what was his name? Hawking, Stephen Hawking, the British scientist. They worship Darwin, Hawking, these guys. They hate the idea of worshipping God. They hate it. Dawkins, Hawking, all these guys are anti-God of any kind. But they themselves are proposing, I am God. Listen to me, I know the truth. Worship me. Self-centered. The scientists who are bewildered by Krishna's external energy have no relationship with the Supreme Person, yet they are accepted by some as Mahajans, we just mentioned that. Similarly, philosophers, historians, literary men, public speakers, and social and political leaders are sometimes accepted as Mahajans. Such Mahajans are respected by certain men who have been described in Srimad Bhagavatam. Shravid varahostra karai sangstuta purishak pashu nayat karna pato peto jatu nama gadagraja. Men who are like, what are they like? Dogs. Men who are like dogs, hogs, camels, and asses. Praise those men who never listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna, the deliverer from evils. They don't praise those who do worship Krishna. They look down and they try to condemn them. You're parasites. You're idiots. You're mad. You're lazy. You're demons. Many times happen. You're worshipping the devil. You ever heard that one on Sankirtan? I don't know what they say in French. I don't know what they say because I can't understand it. But in English they say you're worshipping. You're going to hell. But the boy doesn't mind going to hell. The problem is that you can't really reason with persons of this mentality. They don't reason. They have no reason. They don't listen. Are you okay, Leela Manjari? You're expressing great grief there.
I just imagine that devotee would go to hell and just chant the holy name, and they would be like, "My God, just can you go somewhere else?"
Yeah, well, when people come, when they see the behavior of a devotee in that situation, common people are quite often impressed. If the devotee gets angry, which in one sense you're entitled to do so, but there's another side to preaching too. If they're blaspheming Krishna, that's one thing. But if they're telling you you're going to hell and so on, they're kind of blasphemy also. No doubt about that. But how you express your anger is another thing. I remember we were on Harinam in Belfast. If you were there, Mahananda, where's Mahananda? Is he here? There he is. Were you in Belfast with me a couple of years ago? Maybe it was before, I can't remember. We were doing Harinam and there was that one so-called Christian man there, really going berserk, wasn't he? Wouldn't stop. Screaming. He had a speaker there, he had his friend with him. They were going bananas. We were chanting in there in front of us. You know, screaming, the devil worshippers and this and that. People were coming along, they were looking at us and looking at them. They were looking at these guys. Some people came along and tried to get rid of them, but they were so aggressive, they pushed them. They did a great disservice to Jesus Christ, that's all I can say. You know, really unfortunate. The devotees were blissfully chanting. People were taking books more than usual during that period because they could see that you seem to have something, they don't have it. You know, they looked so angry and miserable. Dull faces, angry looks, pounding out their devotees dancing and singing. Chant and be happy. You're going to hell! Whatever. We're not the controller. Krishna knows everything. Wish everyone all the best. Yes, dogs, hogs, camels and asses. Thus, on the material platform, animalistic leaders are worshipped by animals. Sometimes physicians, psychiatrists and social workers try to mitigate bodily pain, distress and fear, but they have no knowledge of spiritual identity and are bereft of a relationship with God. Yet they also sometimes considered as Mahajans, great doctor, not so much now, but maybe in the history of our world, people look up to them. Self-deceived persons sometimes accept leaders or even politicians or spiritual leaders, spiritual masters rather, from a priestly order that has been officially appointed by the codes of material life. There's a caste, Goswamis, and so on like that, of spiritual masters. In this way, they are deceived by official priests. Don't think that's not something you have to watch out here in Vrindavan. It's a true story. About 15 years ago, 15 years ago, the students from the VIHE, they went to one of the temples, I won't mention which one, in Vrindavan. They invited them for lunch. They went there for lunch, and the devotee serving the lunch went to the ladies. He put the men in one room and the ladies in the other. Priest in the temple, renowned temple, one of the Goswami temples. He put the ladies in one room and the men in the other. He served the ladies. Someone else served the men. And then he told the ladies, you come back tomorrow morning. I will tell you what your swarup is. I will reveal your swarup. And they were bewildered. What's your swarup? What's that mean? Who knows?
Spiritual form.
Your spiritual form. So he said, come back tomorrow. And they were all bewildered. They were bewildered. They were actually wondering, well, should we go back or not? It's amazing. They've just done the VIHE course. They just finished it. And they were perplexed. Luckily, myself and others, we talked to them, and that's not how it works. But just imagine, in Vrindavan this is going on. In a temple. Temple priest. So much cheating. Huh? Famous temple here in Vrindavan. It wasn't the Krishna Balaram temple, it was a different one. Another temple. I won't mention the name. But just be careful. It's not only the monkeys you have to be careful of. These were my monkey glasses. They're made of pure rubber. But no, my other glasses are finished. They got ruined on the way here from the station in Mathura to here. And
By the monkey?
no, my own fault, completely my own fault. It was so crowded and there's so much dust and things going all over the place. I took my glasses off, put them in my pocket. I didn't realize my mobile phone was in the pocket. And somehow it scratched against the glasses the whole way, and the whole front of the glasses is completely, can't see through them practically. It's right in the middle, boom, boom. Can't see, it's just a blur in the middle of the glasses. So I put these on, but I'm afraid to go out now in case the monkeys, they won't be able to read otherwise. They're not ordinary glasses, these are not bifocal, what do you call it? Lens that adjust according to where you look. Bifocal. Yeah. No, there's more than that. It's not like the half split. They automatically readjust. I don't know what they call it. Complicated lenses. Yes. I'll read on. Such impostors imitate the characteristics. No, we miss them. Sometimes people accept as Mahajans those who have been designated by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur as Danga Vipras, impostor Brahmins. Such impostors imitate the characteristics of Srila Haridas Thakur, and they envy Haridas Thakur, who is certainly a Mahajan. Many of them are in like the Nityananda Vamsas and so on and so forth, the followers of the Vaitacharya, like Ramchandra Khan. I think he was a descendant of, not a descendant of, but he was in the same line as the Vaitava family line of something or another. Because it was the same time, contemporary. But he had some connections there. But he envied Haridas Thakur. They make great artificial endeavors, advertising themselves as great devotees of the Lord, or as mystic hypnotists, knowledgeable in witchcraft, hypnotism, and miracles. A lot of times people say miracle doers, and they also worshipped. And not that Jesus wasn't like that. He did that because the people were so fallen. They wouldn't have believed a word he said if he hadn't done some external mystics, walking on water, producing bread from, many from one loaf, and this and that, fishes and what have you. Some miracles, curing lepers, all this and that. People don't believe otherwise. They're so faithless and so shallow. Sometimes people accept as Mahajans demons, like Putana, Trinavarta, Vatsa, Baka, Agasura, Denuka, Kaliya and Palamba. It could be literal, it could just mean they're kind of the nature of such persons, People are, look at drunks. Drunken people, they have their, maybe they've got their worship. The leader of their group, when we were in the drug world, the big druggists, Timothy Leary and this one and that one were worshipped. Like that. Famous, rascals. And all the different groups have got it. The mafia, this one, that one. Some people accept imitators and adversaries of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, such as Pondraka, and he goes on, as the spiritual master of the demons, Shukracharya, atheists like Charvaka, King Vena, Sugata, and Arhat. The whole religions are based on some of these persons, by the way. People who accept such imitators as Mahajans have no faith in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rather, they accept godless cheaters who present themselves as incarnations of God and cheat foolish people within the material world by word jugglery. Thus, many rascals are accepted as Mahajans. So there's all going on. Krishna allows it as they surrender unto me. I reward them accordingly. So the more you're against Krishna, Krishna provides a philosophy, a religion to facilitate your faith, basically. Isn't it what Krishna says? Makes their faith strong. You want to worship the demigods, because demigods not mentioned here directly, but many people worship the demigods, the various individual demigods or collective demigods as the supreme. And in every single case, what you find is that every single worshipper is concerned about their own well-being. Every single worshipper is concerned about their own gratification. That's not bhakti. It's something else. It's certainly not Sanatana Dharma. At best, it's some, temporary or in quite of a cheating religion of sorts, if it doesn't take you beyond that. So every one of them, the whole religions are based upon that elevation to heaven, freedom from sinful reactions, a better life, even down to gross things like getting a job, better health, a nice wife, In Africa, they used to preach like that, like anything. Millions of people were converted. You get a job, you get a pig, you get a house, and you get education for your kids if you join this religion. And that's how millions were converted, because they didn't have these things. And then they educated people. They only gave them one book. It was the book which was their book. The book they had to read to learn English was that was the book they gave them. They didn't have any other books. So, a whole material approach to, whatever, the purpose of life. It is those who are devoid of devotional service who sometimes mistakenly accept persons with mundane motives as Mahajans. The only motive must be Krishna Bhakti, devotional service to the Lord. The only motive. See, we've got a little work to do ourselves, I think, most of us. Sometimes fruitive workers, dry philosophers, non-devotees, mystic yogis, and persons attached to material opulence, women, and money are considered Mahajans. Men worship women, women worship men. It's another form of, idol worship. These are all forms of idol worship in one sense, to different degrees. They're not absolute. They're idolatry. They're based on achieving a material result of one kind or another. Srimad Bhagavatam gives the following statement about such unauthorized Mahajans. In this material world, karmis are accepted as Mahajans by foolish people who do not know the value of devotional service. The mundane intelligence and mental speculative methods of such foolish people are under the control of the three modes of nature. As it says, the Vedas mainly deal with these modes. People worship the Vedas, Veda Vadavatas. They don't worship God, they worship the Vedas, but they miss the point of the Vedas. Consequently, they cannot understand unalloyed devotional service. They are attracted by material activity, and they become worshippers of material nature. People worship nature. Thus they are known as fruitive actors. They even become entangled in material activity disguised as spiritual activity. New Agers, all the yoga groups and so on, we see it clearly in our modern age. Being good, goody-goodies, is all within the realm of karma. In the Bhagavad Gita, such people are described here, it says, actually, Veda Vadavata. Suppose followers of the Vedas. They do not understand the purport of the Vedas, yet they think of themselves as authorities. People versed in Vedic knowledge know that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, the purpose of the Veda. In this material world, a person may be famous as a karmavira, a very powerful karmi, a successful fruitive worker, or he may be very successful in performing religious duties. Or he may, they worship people in religious who are very attached to things. I mean, even leaders of the world, religious leaders, they're attached to liquor, sometimes attached to women, sometimes attached to wealth, sometimes attached to meat, and so many things. They may have some knowledge, they may have some karma, they may have some type of misdirected sentiments of some kind, they may have some type of faith, they've got something, but it's not on the level of a Mahajan. And sometimes people worship people who are very great renunciates. That doesn't mean you're a great devotee at all. What has renunciation got, the type of renunciation that we're talking about here, got to do with devotional service? Is that service to the Lord, sitting, not eating for 2 days, 2 months? Is that devotional service to the Lord? Is it devotional service to stand on your head for 6 months or something? Is it devotional service to go naked in the Himalayas? No, it's not. Why are you doing those things? You have to find out what devotional service is. That's not devotional service. Anyone whose work is, nice versa, anyone whose work is not meant for elevating him to religious life, anyone whose religious ritualistic performances do not raise him to renunciation, and anyone situated in renunciation that does not lead him to devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead must be considered dead, although he is breathing. If it doesn't lead to devotional service, it's a waste of time. Shrama Evi Keva. simply an exercise or mental speculation, exercise of false pride, whatever it may be, misled somehow or another. The conclusion is that all pious activity, fruitive activity, religious principles, and renunciation must ultimately lead to devotional service. There are different types of processes for rendering service. One may serve the country, one may serve the people in society, and here in India, of course, this is a very famous example, probably the most famous of all. One who served his country in the eyes of the world, practically speaking, and as much materially selfless as you could think of, practically in our modern age. He served the country. He was somewhat religious of a certain level, that's for sure. Sometimes Prabhupada would talk favorably in terms of that which was favorable, but the bottom line of it was, when he was invited, he was actually invited to come to meet Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. He didn't come. Because, the main thing was the spinning wheel, which Prabhupada recognized was a good policy, by the way. Materially, his policies should be implemented, but there was no absolute spirituality involved. So they invited him. They said, "I'll only come if you have a spinning wheel there in the mat. Otherwise, I'm not coming." That was his answer. If you don't have a spinning wheel, I'm not going there. And like a devotee won't go anywhere unless there's a temple or devotees there or devotional service. He wouldn't go anywhere, he said, unless there's a spinning wheel there. At least not in India. A little different. Subhash Chandra Bose, was he the revolutionary, the Indian revolutionary? Simultaneously, there was another Indian revolutionary who took a different policy. It was the policy of whoever we're talking about, was non-violence. Huh? Nice. He had a lot of good ideas. But the other one, Chandra Bose, didn't take that he wasn't at all into that. He didn't have much sympathy for that policy. He said, that's not going to drive the British out. They're only going to be driven out by, aggression. And of course he accumulated quite an army, maybe not so visible, but he had quite a large army of Indian soldiers who had been released by the Japanese and the Germans, who agreed to join his army and fight against the British in India. And others too. And that's what scared the British more than the other Gandhi's non-violence, in one sense. So he came. Chandra Bose did come. Just hear this one before you two fly into the wilderness. Where are you going?
We're coming back.
Yeah, but you'll miss this story. Just finish the story, then you can come back. No, but you've got to go to the toilet, I know. Is that right? Yeah. Just, it would take 5 seconds or 2 minutes. Something in between. So, Chandra Bose came, and you hear this story that Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said, well, look at these poor young boys here in the mat. They're all skinny. Let them stay here and have something to eat. They're no use to your army. You need strong men. That story, but the story which is in Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhav, which is recorded by deep investigation, was a big argument took place between Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj and Chandra Bose, Subhash Bose. And Bhaktisiddhanta won the argument. He defeated him. Chandra Bose was convinced. He said, if I wasn't sold out to this liberation movement, I would join you today. You're the most powerful person I've ever met. He was impressed, like anything. But he was sold out to the liberation movement, so he couldn't do it. He was very impressed. Very powerful. He was fearless. He wouldn't water it down. He's straight on the truth. Bang. Wouldn't mess around, apparently. Anyway, it goes on. Various leaders who are accepted as ideals, they're not ideals. One may serve the country, people, and society, the varnashram, dharma system, the sick, the poor, the rich, women, demigods, and so on. All this service comes under the heading of sense gratification. Simple as that. Or enjoyment in the material world. It is most unfortunate that people are more or less attracted by such material activity, and the leaders of these activities are accepted as Mahajans, great ideal leaders. Actually, they are only misleaders, but an ordinary man cannot understand how he is being misled. The blind leading the blind. Narottam Das Thakur says, Sadhu Shastra Guru Vakichitite Kori Aikya. One should accept as one's guide the words of sadhus, the Shastra and the Guru. A sadhu is a great personality like Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Shastras are the injunctions of revealed scriptures, and the Guru, or spiritual master, is one who confirms the scriptural injunctions. Another definition. Accepting the guidance of these three is the actual way of following the great personalities, the Mahajans, for real advancement in life. Mahajano yena gatak sapanta. A man covered by illusion cannot understand the proper way. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Dharma stapana hetu sadhura vyavahar. The behavior of a devotee is the criterion for all other behavior. And it's not just that they externally behave like a gentleman, which Prabhupada said we should also, but the fact that they don't compromise the truth. They may present it in various ways which are palatable when possible, but they don't change it under any circumstance. They don't bow down to untruth. Unfortunately, people have been attracted to the material body since time immemorial. This is a verse in the 10th canto, famous verse. A human being who identifies this body made of three elements with his self, who considers the byproducts of the body to be his kinsmen. See how attached we may be, it's unavoidable in some ways. It's part of conditional life, isn't it? When you meet someone from your own country, it's like this thing goes off in the heart, it's language, culture, or the homeland, and anything else which reminds you of that, place or whatever, culture and so on. And like that, people are very attached to their place of birth. It's funny, huh? In their hometown we were born, anything. We're very interested, usually, not always, but usually. Who considers his land of birth worshipable, goes to a place of pilgrimage simply to take a bath or something else, rather than meet men of transcendental knowledge there, is to be considered like an ass or a cow, an animal in other words. Animals do that also. They're attached to their patch, right? They're attached in their families usually. They're attached to, their bodies, that's for sure. And they may come to a holy place for what good reason. They may have some good fortune there, of course, from previous lifetime, but whatever reason it is, in principle they're an animal. They're also bathing in the river. They're also, in the Dham. Of course we know in Vrindavan they're going back to Godhead, but that's not the way it should be. They shouldn't behave in such a way to become an animal. You can't make that happen, by the way. It's not by chance that they leave their body here. Those who accept the logic of Gadalika Pravaha and follow in the footsteps of pseudo-Mahajans are carried away by the waves of Maya. Bhaktivinoda Thakur therefore sings, Michi Bhairavase Yachabe Sekachaha Budu Bobai, Michi Mayravase Yachabe Sekachaha Budu Bobai, Hari Bola Bola Re Michi Mayravase. You know that song? We used to sing it almost every day. Radha Krishna Bo Bola Re Sabai. Radha Krishna Bo Bola Re Sabai. Kachaha Budu Babai. Jiva Krishna Das E Vishwas Kalito Adukanai. Jiva Krishna Das E Vishwas Kalito Adukanai. Hari Bola Bola Re Radha Krishna Bolo. Hey Shikadiya Sapnadiya. Goes on. Don't be carried away by the waves of Maya. This is all Maya. Mayajan. Just surrender to the lotus feet of Krishna, and all evils will end. Those who follow social customs and behavior forget to follow the path chalked out by the Mahajans. Simply follow their blind leading the blind. Thus they are offenders at the feet of the Mahajans. Sometimes they consider such Mahajans very conservative. There's one famous movement in this country, isn't it? All paths are the same. Doesn't matter what you do, all one, all the same. Very popular. You can imagine it's very popular. You can eat anything you like also, by the way. This is a great misfortune. for everyone. If one does not follow the footsteps of real Mahajans, one's plans for happiness will be frustrated. This is elaborately explained later in the Madhya Lila. And there it explains, people are so unfortunate they do not accept the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Instead, they want to be supported by so-called Mahajans, or authorities. Tati chaya darshana hoite tattva nahi jani. We cannot ascertain the real truth simply by following speculators. We have to follow the footsteps of the Mahajans in disciplic succession. Then our attempt will be successful. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Vani Amritera Dara. Whatever is spoken by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is an incessant flow of nectar. Whoever accepts his words as reality can understand the essence of the absolute truth. Very simple. Accept Lord Chaitanya's words in essence, fully, in reality, can understand the essence of the absolute truth by accepting Lord Chaitanya's words. Otherwise it's not possible. Ends up speculation, everyone's got a different idea, even if they're in the so-called same group, same movement, same religion, same this, same that, they still don't agree. They still debate on, this, that, the other. So many debates on how this, so all the time. They have no clarification. They have no real spiritual intelligence. Right?
Welcome to ISKCON.
Welcome to ISKCON, okay. There you go. Yes, you've hit one nail on the head. We're following in the suit. We have something in common with the world around us. In many cases. Not in every case, but in many cases. So the secret is given here. Whatever is spoken by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is an incessant flow of nectar. Whoever accepts his words as reality can understand the essence of the absolute truth. So what are his words? He spoke a lot of words. Yeah, it's one of his famous words. To the Brahmin, the Vipra, the leper Brahmin, Vasudeva. What else did he sing? Many things. Huh? Sikshastakam prayers, very essential. It's the gateway to love of God. It's the essential foundation, you could say. Everything builds on that. Study it carefully, follow the process, chanting and hearing. Well, maybe somewhat protected from the waves of distraction which are there. There's no end of waves of distraction, even in our lives. Who in this room doesn't have a mobile phone? Hands up. Who doesn't have a mobile phone?
I don't even.
Who's that?
I lost one.
When's your birthday? He lost it. He's a great renunciate. He lost his mobile. But there's not many people who don't nowadays, even in countries in the middle of the jungle. People have got a mobile phone. Pretty much every brahmachari has one almost, huh? Even the brahmacharis these days sometimes they even have bank accounts and things like that. It's incredible. Whoops, what was that? Somebody fell off their chair. I've got a bank account. And you know how risky it is to have a mobile phone. It can be very useful, it can be very risky. How much time it can waste. And it's not just a waste of time, it can be actually a disturbance too. Be careful how you use or how you abuse the mobile phone, so to speak. Everything's like that, but it's very, very effective.
Can we have your permission not to have a phone?
You do. You have my permission, but but if we want to call you, you've got to answer the phone. It's a difficult one. No, that's not. That's okay, but that's again. There's so many distractions in this world, isn't it? And we've got to learn to see it all in relation with Krishna. That's like a powerful weapon of Kali, but there are many others too. It could be anything. It could be just sitting around talking about things. The war. We could be sitting around talking about COVID. We could be sitting around talking about millions of things. Is that going to answer the problem? Is it going to solve the world's problems? Is it going to cure you of COVID? Is it going to stop the war in wherever it is? Is it going to make you Krishna conscious? It's sense gratification. It may be sometimes, for the sake of helping others to come on the path, that could be some justification. Otherwise, it's sense gratification. Anything, mundane topics, criticizing, fault-finding, gossiping, you name it. There's no end to it. Speculations, thinking how to get my desires fulfilled. Unending channels are there, trying to find some verse, somebody to justify my mixed devotional intentions. So much time wasted. Even, on an advanced level, we're not on an advanced level, we need all the help we can get. But, Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj, when he was asked to take bath or come to a place, he said, what time do we have for taking bath in the Ganga? We have no time. He said, we're constantly engaged in hearing and chanting. We have no time for these things. But he did, for various reasons, do these things. I don't know about take bath in the Ganga, but he certainly took the buzz on parikrama. It's very important, especially for the likes of ourselves, going on parikrama while you're here in Vrindavan in the proper way. Not independently, not with somebody who really is ulterior motive, but in a proper, organized way. Kirtan, proper katha, according to our level of, you could say, understanding. The temple, I think, will be organizing, if they're not already, parikramas for those who wish to go. And there may be some senior devotees who are going. I may not be going much, if at all, this year. We'll see. Other things to do. Not that I'm qualified anyway, but at least we chant Hare Krishna while we go. Keeps us a little protected. Such leaders are themselves, no. Such leaders who say we're conservative, they are conservative. They're not at all liberal. They're very attached to their particular... Liberalism is an interesting term. Very interesting term, which is quite common in ISKCON now. They accuse the conservatives, the devotees they classify as conservatives. And no, you can't, we don't accept what you say. Is that liberalism? No, it's not, is it? If you're liberal, you have to accept what others say also. It means you're conservative. You're only accepting according to your perspective of what liberalism means. And those who are sticking to the means, or the direct channel, they're considered conservative. Even Prabhupada, they would say, I think Allen Ginsberg said, Prabhupada would call him Allen Ginsberg, he said, oh, you're very conservative. Conservative, there's Prabhupada. He's keeping his, off his fruit and vegetables in the fridge, and there's meat in the fridge, and liquor and cigarette smoking going on, and cats and dogs all over the place. He's calling you very conservative. God, Prabhupada said his godbrothers would have a heart attack if they, if they realized what he was doing over there in America, practically. So far from the narrow path, so to speak. Prabhupada was giving that without compromising himself, but allowing others to have the chance to come in there. However, if we preach this philosophy, people will consider Vaishnavas very sectarian, because they're seeing it from their own sectarian perspective, their own conditional perspectives. The pure devotees see things from the absolute plane. There's just a few living entities here for a few moments, and we think our perspective is the absolute, and everyone would disagree. Everyone's got their own sect, with sects within sect. The whole world is just full of various, bogus, whatever word you call it, sectarian opinions. The absolute is the absolute. It's not subject to our opinion or our measurement. It's absolute. You can accept or not. Persons who are like that, they have no way they're going to listen or hear. Srila Madhavendra Puri was a real Mahajan, but misguided people cannot distinguish the real from the unreal. But a person who is awakened to Krishna consciousness can understand the real religious path chalked out by the Lord and his pure devotees. Sri Madhavendra Puri was a real Mahajan because he understood the absolute truth properly and throughout his life behaved like a pure devotee. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu approved the method of Sri Madhavendra Puri. Therefore, although from the material standpoint, the Sanadiya Brahmin was on a lower platform, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu considered him situated on the highest platform of spiritual realization. Srimad Bhagavatam states there are 12 Mahajans. Who knows who they are? There are many. They're unlimited, but there are 12 mentioned specifically. Pardon?
Brahma, Shiva,
Lord Brahma,
Narad,
Lord Shambhu or Shiva, Narada,
Kapil,
Kapila,
Bali Maharaj,
Bali Maharaj,
Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva,
pardon? Prahlad,
Dhruva,
pardon? Bhishma, who? Who?
Dhruva Maharaj,
No.
Yamaraj,
Yamaraj,
Chaturkumar,
Janak,
Chaturkumar,
Yep.
and Yamaraj.
yep, and one more. Maybe someone said didn't hear it. Pardon?
Parashuram,
No, he's not one of the Mahajans. Maybe you worship Parashani, and you walk around with an axe when you're in Germany. He's the axe man. Is he the axe man? You chop the wood? Sankirtan, you're like the axe. Huh? Sukadev. Sukadev Goswami. To select our Mahajans in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, we have to follow in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his representatives. His next representative is Swarup Damodar Goswami. The next are the Goswamis. And then? Oh. Then he talks about Sridhar Swami and the Vishnu Swami sect. He was also a Mahajan. All the different Sampradayas have their Mahajans. Chanidas, Vidyapati, Jayadev and so on were all Mahajans. One who tries to imitate the Mahajans just to become an imitative spiritual master is certainly far away from following the footsteps of the Mahajans. Sometimes people cannot actually understand how a Mahajan follows other Mahajans. In this way, people commit offences and fall from devotional service. So a very fine line and subject matter. Practically, you have to be a Mahajan to recognize a Mahajan. Dilemma. So how to tell who is a Mahajan?
By the symptoms, but we can see the symptoms only of those persons which are on our level or below. Because maybe recognize some like external symptoms, like he's trying to spread the movement all over the world, so that's some symptom of someone exalted.
That we can see from our angle. Of course, devotees, we see all devotees as exalted, in one sense, no doubt, whatever they're doing. But the one who's truly a Mahajan, they're also Mahajans in one sense.
How much is addicted to Krishna?
That's one of our, Prabhupada said that's one of the definitions, isn't it? How much they're you see, they're always focused on the Supreme Person. They're never focused on sense gratification, mundane achievements, and so on and so forth. They may utilize these as energies of God to glorify God, but it's always it's not like a sideline. It's always one-pointed like that, one-pointed attention. How else?
By the intensity by which they awaken our own attraction to Krishna.
Yeah, there's another point known by how much of a touchstone they are. How they, the touchstones. Madhavendra Puri is like a touchstone also. All the Mahajans are touchstones. Of course, owls, probably gives the example of an owl. It doesn't see the sun. It's a night bird. Night, well, maybe not all owls, but night owls. They don't know. They don't believe in the sun. No matter how much you tell them, they won't believe it. So many people like owls. They won't listen. They can't hear. But in general, yes. And even if they don't hear, the Mahajan still gives, the mercy is still there. Bhaktisiddhanta is chastising and condemning. And this is another form of humble compassion on those persons. Eventually it will bear fruit. They will come out of their illusion. How else can you identify the uncompromising fixation of the Mahajan on his worship, on the worshipful Lord, his effects of his preaching? How else?
He's not affected by the mode of materialism.
Could we say it is related, of course, to their being fixed, but yeah, they're not at all affected by they may appear to be, but they're not. They're not controlled by the modes of nature, and the effects of the modes being anger, greed, and lust, and so on. They're not controlled by that at all. They may seemingly express that sometimes. And mundane people may see it like that. Just, we were reading the day how Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj it was. I think it was in Bhaktisiddhanta by Baba, I can't remember. Some monkey came, there's the story of Gorky Shore like this too, but some monkey came and stole bananas in the next room, and he chased after him. Some mundane person was there, knocking over some plates or something with some valuable, I can't remember the details, but just to try to get the bananas back, which cost few annas in those days, nothing. Meantime, no, those bananas were meant to be offered to Krishna. There are many stories like that. How a devotee sees everything like that. Of course, you could say it the other way around, but he's showing an example. Everything belongs to Krishna. We shouldn't waste anything. And we don't think like that. Oh, it's not mine. But everything belongs to Krishna. Prabhupada would sometimes be seen walking into ordinary people's gardens and turning off taps and things like that. Well, what is made of it? It's not ours. No, it's Krishna's. You're right, it's not yours. It belongs to Krishna and shouldn't be wasted. Everything's being wasted in this world. Pure devotees teach how to utilize everything in Krishna's service. They're always thinking like that. They're always thinking, well, what does Krishna want? They're not thinking of what we want. It may look like that sometimes, but that's not what they're thinking. They're thinking of what will please Krishna. They're representatives of, of Radharani. They understand that, what it means to please Krishna. How else can we have a little glimpse of the nature of a Mahajan and perhaps be able to have a little bit better understanding of what they are, who they are?
By their own mercy.
Pardon?
By their own mercy.
By their mercy they may reveal it, yes.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true in the absolute sense. Of course, when we're in a conditioned state, people get easily, they don't understand what that means necessarily. Persons who are, let's say, we'll probably use the word cheating, who am I to say, but we repeat those words. Many gurus, even here in India, millions of people follow them. They see that they're revealing their mercy to you, in various ways, producing gold or this or that, delivering you from distress, whatever. What other ways? They distribute sweets. Is that what you've got there? Mahajans, they give you sweets.
Yes.
They give you sweets and accept donations. Is that what Mahajans? Is that the symptom of Mahajan? I'm good at that.
They touch your forehead, Maharaj.
They touch your forehead? Okay, I can try. I'll try to. But I get in trouble because some of the devotees here are in female bodies. Now, if I touch the foreheads, I'll really get in trouble. I'll lose my reputation as a Mahajan. So we can only do that with limited to a limited extent. Any other ways?
They are establishers and representatives of Dharmic principles.
Yes, they certainly do. But you've got to know what Dharmic principles are, and especially according to time, place, and circumstance. Prabhupada did adjust what would normally be seen in India as even Vaishnava Smriti. He adjusted that in the Western Hemisphere, for the sake of the ultimate goal of fulfilling Lord Chaitanya's will, his manavishta, his heart's desire. But in reality, yes, but people misinterpret that, or they don't really know what that is, and they don't accept it. There's more coming. Look at this. My goodness, what's this? Sour cream. Papa said when he first heard about this sour cream, he said, that cannot be offered. Throw it all away or take it back. Because he thought it was literally sour, like sour, apples or something, But that's not in India they don't think like that. Are you okay, Leela?
No, it's my Lyme disease. I have to go.
You're tired.
Yeah, I have to.
Thank you very much. We've dragged on very late. We've gone on for all night. It's 7:30. I didn't believe. I thought it was about 6 o'clock. Thank you for your patience. Krishna willing, we'll let you know what tomorrow's schedule is when it comes. Oh, but before you go, The Mahajan has to distribute some prasad. Hey, you're not the Mahajan. Come back here. You'll get all the dakshin if you do that. He's also Mahajan. This puffed up animal sitting up here. We were reading Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj's article on, what's it called? The real guru or something. There you go. And there's also something in here. I don't think it's sour cream. How do you open here? Wow, look at that. It's from Puri. It's a Jagannath tongue. Woo! Come, Priya Rani, you're going on Sankirtan now. They're all missing you in it. The scores have halved since you've been away from Paris. Daniel has gone down to 1 book a day in the last 2 days.
One small book, yeah.
One small book.
And one magazine.
And one magazine. Far out. Big. That was a big day.
He's the real warrior.
He's a warrior. Anyways, he's getting tired. He's on his own going out every day, and he's have to do deity worship and this and that. Anyway, well, another way is all the ladies are all fagging out, you see. Here we go. Come on, get your tongues. Keep it going. Thank you very much. Well, fortunately, we do have Shastra. We're supposed to. It's supposed to be confirmed by Shastric injunctions. What is a Mahajan? You have to see, we have to look. Krishna, we heard one of them. Anyone else leaving? Don't worry, there's plenty there. Enough for everyone. We heard one earlier on, Mahatmanastamam Pata Daivim Prakritim Ashrita. You see, some qualifications are given there. And other places, other qualifications, 26 qualities of a devotee. Different places, qualifications are given. We refer to that. By their behavior. Okay, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. And tomorrow, if we're still here, unless there's something else spectacular going on, I'll try not to go on so long. This is too long, I didn't realize it. I'm supposed to be online with someone now. We'll go into the other side of Madhavendra Puri's unique level of renunciation and what it means for a Vaishnava. Hare Krishna. Any comments or questions? So today we heard the quality of a Mahajan to some degree, and we may not be convinced.
Question. So we read the qualities in the Shastra, but can we actually see them? Because, for example, we see all these ecstatic symptoms, they manifest, but usually they hide it anyway.
Yeah, we have to see it in perspective, and then the Shastra will also explain that they're manifest at certain stages and certain situations. They're not manifest in certain, they're not manifesting amongst the public, so to speak, but, so you may not see it. Some people try to manifest them in public, and people do obviously buy it, especially in Bengal, because, this is the way it is. In Bengal, they're very emotional in that regards, but that's not how it goes. The change of heart, there's that famous verse, that unless there's a change of heart while chanting the holy name of Krishna, one's heart is steel framed. So, yeah. Famous verse. But the whole commentary there is not the one that you'd expect. If ecstatic symptoms don't awaken when you chant the holy name of the Lord, then it's considered your heart is steel framed. But that's not mentioned much in the purport. Most of the purport is aimed at changing the heart from, what we say, sensual to devotional, mostly. And the being easily misled by professional teachers and cheaters and so on, who may manifest what appear to be ecstatic symptoms. That's another branch. I mean, that was there with in Haridas Thakur, the example, when he was with the snake charmer, and that imitator came in and tried to imitate ecstatic symptoms. He got a good beating as a result. But it's not done by imitation. So generally speaking, although there are exceptions, but generally the pure devotees do not manifest those type of ecstatic symptoms in public. They may manifest other symptoms, which we've heard, some of them not being disturbed in the face of disturbance, etc., etc. You can read the symptoms of surrender, which are more manifest. You're not wasting a single moment of their time, like that, always depending on Krishna, always expecting his mercy, and so on and so forth. Yeah. Never thinking, never having any other desires. You never see any flaw in these regards. That you can see. They're not like washing. They don't have like two lives, you know. It's not like inner and outer life. They're the same. They're not, you know, as soon as this class is over, I've got a television in that room there. You don't know it. When I'm going in there, that's why I say at 7:30 I'm supposed to be on the television, you know. I go, it's match of the day on the television. It's not like that, you know. Or smoke a cigarette. Have you got the cigarettes, Rupa? Did you bring the beaters? Beaters, yeah. Huh? Oh God, you forgot the madongi, you forgot the beaters. What is this? Have you got the saras ready for tonight's lila? Some of them. Go out now for, you know, whatever it is, joyride or something. And that often happens, you know. Eating nonsense. Eating untouchable foods, smoking cigarettes, womanizing, and so on. These are symptoms you're not a Mahajan. There's another level of Mahajans, but that's beyond. They have another reason, but in general, those who are preachers, they don't do these things. They don't do it. If they do, you know, they're not a Mahajan. They may be an aspirant, but they're not a Mahajan. I remember one time we were at one program, 1972 in London, I won't mention the name, one famous Indian guru was there, and he gave a speech. We went there to distribute books, and afterwards he was sitting there eating chicken. Well, he was choosing, what do you want to eat? Yeah, give me chicken. And there's thousands of people following, millions almost. I don't know, he's not alive now. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Madhavendra Puri ki jai, Gaur Premanandi.